Hello there, kia ora. We need to talk about the weekend's election, not the results. They're still coming in, and they're actually showing some interesting trends between the progress results and the preliminary results, and then they're going to all be recounted and special votes will be added. The votes received Friday afternoon and Saturday morning were the highest volume ever received in that period of any recent local election around the country, and the volume of special votes is looking to be just as record-breaking. And that's shaken up a lot of races. It switched a couple of mayoral results from Saturday and closed the gaps on a lot more races and the Māori ward referendums. And because of the sheer volume it's taking, a little bit longer to count them all than was expected. And even with that last minute epic uptick, we are still looking at one of the lowest voter turnouts ever for the local elections around the country, continuing a trend that's been happening now for decades. And that's a problem. We saw in this election that low voter turnout leads to highly motivated groups getting elected that the general wider public maybe aren't so keen on. You get the politicians that you vote for, and if you don't vote, you get the politicians others voted for. It's as simple as that. But when the turnout is hovering at just above 30% consistently, that's more than just an issue of general apathy. That's a systemic issue that's been manipulated by bad faith actors, and we need to find solutions or we will see repeats of what occurred this past weekend all over the country in 2028. And here's where things get interesting, because there's a number of changes that experts have suggested to fix the systemic problems. We could look at having the Electoral Commission take over the process instead of private companies. We could run it like a general election with a standard polling day and in-person early voting. We should be using a uniform electoral system so everyone votes using either STV or first past the post. We could lower the voting age to 16 for local elections. We could introduce a civics education class in high schools to cover the basics of what councils do and give the wider public a better understanding of what they do. We could look at specific funding for dedicated local media coverage to ensure voters are kept up to date and informed. We could change the rules around eligibility for candidates that rule out people who should not be in a decision-making position because of serious crimes that have hurt people or put people in danger. We could demand more information about affiliations with political parties or political lobby groups from our candidates, as identified by the Electoral Commission as an impartial process observer, and ensure actual accountability measures for elected members if they breach a uniform code of conduct. We could explore online voting options, making the election day a public holiday once every 3 years, or even making voting compulsory like they do in Australia. There's lots of potential ways that we can fix our broken system. And the chances of it happening under this government are almost zero. And we know that because every single one of those suggestions that I just listed off were actually written by a working group of local government experts in a report called the Future for Local Government Report. That report was delivered to the coalition not long after they took power and was binned immediately. And when asked about it, then Local Government Minister Simeon Brown called it woke and said that's why it was being used for landfill. If a few of those changes had been implemented instead of thrown out based on the ideological view that progressive change has to be ignored, then we may have actually seen an increase in voter turnout, but we're never going to know. Instead, the lack of systemic change means yet another election with low turnout, which gives the coalition more ammo to look at gutting local government altogether. So, if you aren't happy with the turnout from the weekend and what that delivered for the place that you call home, remember that next year when you go to the polls for the general election and ask yourself if you want to just keep repeating the same results over and over. Hey, thanks for sticking around till the end of the video. While you're here, why not hit that like button or share the video or even subscribe to the channel. You could even become a paid YouTube member so you can see things released in advance, you get access to some exclusive content, and like all these awesome people, you get to have your name at the end of the credits as well.